Hello, good morning. You're welcome back to the Human Resource in Practice training, and I am Damilare again. In continuation of our class, today we're going to be starting with the training program implementation. So, in the past courses, we've spoken about the training process, what training is, and the components of training. So, today we are going to be looking at implementing the training program itself. So, when you're implementing the training program, there are some things that you have to have in mind. And first and foremost, the first thing you need to put in place is you need to make the learning meaningful. Make the learning meaningful. If you remember, we talked about the planning, needs analysis. Why are we doing this training? What gap do we need to fill? What gap do we want to fill? So, in this process of the implementation, you want to make sure that the implementation or the real training has a meaning to the employee. We talked about whether the employee is ready to take the training or not. So in that case, you want to you want to make sure that the training program, the environment, the materials are prepared in such a way that the program is meaningful to the employee so that even in the case that they are not interested or they are not ready to take the training, the attraction from the training program will be able to change their mind. I give an example of how people come to training not because of the knowledge they want to get or the skills they want to acquire, but rather because of the money that the organization is going to give them for traveling expenses and the hotel lodging fees and the likes. So in this case, we had to change the direction that training was going to make sure that what they are learning is very relatable to the work at office, and that changes the mind of some of them to come early the following day or to decide that, okay, yes, whether we come early or late, we want to learn this thing. So making the learning meaningful, making it impactful. You need to provide a bird's eye view of the material to be presented to facilitate the training. You need to provide a critical, close look of the material. Now, what that means is that it must be very relatable to the task or to the gap you are going to be filling. You have done the needs analysis, you have identified the gaps. Then, in preparing the training materials, you have to make sure that the content is in close tandem to the gap you are trying to fill. Also, you have to use familiar examples, familiar scenarios, familiar situations to be able to help them to understand. Don't forget that the reason for this training, in some cases, as you have checked on the needs analysis, the reason for this training is for to help the employee to be able to perform the task so that it can move the organization towards a strategic goal. So you have to make sure that the scenarios, the situations, examples that you are presenting are something familiar with what they do on the job already. Also, you have to make sure that the information is organized in such a way that it is logical and meaningful. Uh, the information is presented in a logical manner and is meaningful to them. And don't use jargons in passing out the training at this point. At this point, you want to make it as simple as possible. You want to make sure that the employees get as much value from the training as possible. And then in this case, you also have to use as many visual aids to pass the message across to the trainee. Now, you also have to make sure that whatever training program that you are implementing is makes skill transfer easy. We have talked about informal training and formal training. I will say that formal training, in most cases, is more of theory and does not allow the trainees to be able to practice what they have learned. So, in this case, you have to make sure that whether it is an informal training or it's a formal training method, the training skills or whatever skills they are going to be learning at the training is easy to transfer. The skills they are going to get for there is easy to transfer onto their jobs. And how do you do that? Is to maximize the similarity between the training situation, and the work situation. So in this case, you want to create examples of real life experience. In technology, we call it lab, the virtual lab, where you can simulate the scenarios that you will find in real life situation. So that is how to make the skill transfer easy. You also have to make sure that each employee or each trainee have an hands-on experience. They have to practice, whether with the virtual lab or with a live scenario. You have to make sure that they have adequate practices to be able to transfer the skills they are getting to the job. Also, you have to make sure that every feature, if it's a technical training, you have to make sure every feature of a particular machine or a particular product is labeled, and they have a sequence in the follow through of they have a sequence in the process of using them. So, for example, you have how to operate a particular machine effectively. You need to show the trainee the process. This is how to assemble this machine. This is how to make sure that this machine is optimized. These are the steps to follow. Label them and put like an arrow to show the sequence of that process. Also, try as much as possible to direct try as much as possible to direct the trainee's attention to important aspect of the job. So it is not enough to just run through the training program. You have to make sure and try as much as possible to make sure that the employees take note of important things in the training aspect, or the important things in their job. So if there are some particular task that needs to be done that makes that uh, task to be very important, you need to draw the attention of the trainees to that aspect, and also provides preparatory information that lets the employees or the trainees know what happens when they are back on the job. So you need to give them a heads up to let them know this is what you will experience, this is what you will find when you get back on the job, and this is how to handle it. So you need to give them that pre-orientation, that going back to the job, this is how to blend what you have learned the into the uh, into your job activities. Okay. Also, you also need to reinforce the learning. You need to reinforce learning. And in this case, what you want to do, the way you want to reinforce the learning is that trainers learn best when they are the one doing. Trainers learn best, or trainees learn best when they are the one doing. So to make the learning experience more effective, to make the learning experience to be to be useful and to be valuable, you have to let the trainees be involved in the process. And also, you need to give them the necessary encouragement. Okay, probably you ask a question in the training and an employee answer. You need to let the employee know, okay, that is good job. That is fantastic, you understand? To build their morale. Also, the schedule of the implementation is also important. Uh, what happens is that usually human beings, our attention span tend to reduce as the day grows. So early in the morning, people are full of energy and they are moving, they are ready to absorb as many things as possible. But as the day wear on, by 11, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, the attention span begins to reduce. And then by 3, most times everybody has tuned out and they're waiting for the close of work. So you need to plan the schedule of the training to make sure that whatever needs to be done The important aspect of the training are done earlier in the morning when the employees are very fresh and they are interested in absorbing as many information as possible. Okay, so the next thing you want to also do is to conduct a pre and post training exercise. Conduct a pre and post training exercise. So in this case, after doing the needs analysis and then you are at the training scene now, you want to start implementing the training. You need to conduct a pre-training exercise. And what you want to get in this point is you want to get the level at which a trainee is. You want to understand the level which they are, the understanding of what they have come to do, and then what their expectation is from the training. So that is a pre-training exercise. What the expectation is, what level they are bringing into the training, and what understanding they have of the skill of the training. And then the post after the training has been done, you also need to do another one like a survey to find out, okay, has the training program been able to meet your needs? Has the training program been able to answer the questions you have before coming for the training? And also, at that point, you also need to find out whether they learned anything in the course of the training. You also want to find out whether they learned anything in the course of the training. And now, if they learned anything, how much of it did they assimilate? How much of it were they able to take in and turn to a useful knowledge? So those are the pre and post training exercises that you need to conduct to be able to ascertain whether the training program has fulfilled the purpose for which you have conducted it. All right. So we have different training methods, and as we have mentioned yesterday, we have different training methods. Uh, we have the on-the-job training. We have the apprenticeship training. We have the informal learning, job instruction training, lectures, program learning, audio-visual based training, tele-training and video conferencing, CBT-based training, simulated learning, internet-based learning, and different learning portals. So what happens here is that these different type of training methods has their pros and cons. This different type of training method has their advantages and disadvantages. Now, the purpose of the training, don't forget that when we're conducting needs analysis, we said that the need or the gaps that we find, the things that we have analyzed, the organizational, the personal, and the task analysis that we have done, will let us know the type of training method to use. We talked about having whether we are using a physical training or uh, online based method. So all this method that is highlighted here is the different ways that the training can be carried out. So the needs analysis will tell us which method is the most suitable. For example, if you want to work with technicians, the best method to use with them is to use what's it called, simulated learning, because at that point they are more interested in doing, in handling, to be able to understand how to do this. So if you take that set of people and you take them into maybe a class and you say you are doing a teleconferencing or they're doing a teletraining or audiovisual based training, the training is not going to be effective. It will be a waste of time and a waste of money for the organization. Why? Because they cannot learn as much as they will learn when they are in the lab simulating the real process. So the different training methods is based on the needs analysis that has been conducted, whether personal needs analysis or the task needs analysis. or the organization analysis. These are the three things we consider in choosing which training method is the right one for the organization. Okay, so looking at the on the job training. On the job training is the training that you receive while you are doing the job. So this particular training does not take you out of the job. This particular training does not, you do not need to abandon the job for a few days or weeks to be able to get the knowledge. No, this kind of training, you acquire it while you are on the job, while you are doing the job. And what happens here is that the person learns by doing the job. So, for example, arranging cartons, you can only learn that by doing it. You cannot learn arranging cartons by watching a screen. You cannot learn arranging carton by simulation or by any other form. You have to do, because that one is the need is physical and you have to get doing in it. And in this case, we have different types of methods to pass that. You have coaching method or understudy, or what we call job rotation special assignment. So, for example, in that situation, you get the employee to stay with somebody who is already an expert in the field and work with them. So, that is coaching. Work with them on the job, work with them while they are doing the job, and the coach takes the employee through the process. Okay, take this and do this, take that, put it there, and this and that. So that method is the training is trying to understudy what the other person is doing so that they get used to it. I've seen that sometimes in banks. If you see, you will see maybe a new customer service officer or new teller at the bank. When they come to the bank fresh, the first thing they do is the bank does not just put them out there and say, okay, oh yeah, go ahead and start attending these customers. Or despite the fact that they have been to the training school, what happens is that you will first of all understudy somebody who is doing it. So you will see, if you have noticed this, you will see another staff sitting behind a particular staff, watching what the person is doing. And as the person is doing it, the person is explaining, okay, when you are doing transfer, okay, this is the module you will click, and this is how you enter this. This is where you require for BVN. So the person takes notes of all those steps as the person is doing it. And after the coach has done a few steps, he or she asks the trainee to also pass through the process and then while watching them. So the advantage of this is that it is inexpensive. You do not have to spend a lot of money. You do not need to plan for external training, no travel expenses, no lodging expenses, no all those extra costs that's associated with training. But in this case, it is inexpensive. It is in-house. You are on the job. The job is what going on while you are learning, and it is you learn by doing. So in this case, the purpose of the training is for you to be able to do your work effectively. So in this case, you are learning while doing it. So it is a win-win for both the organization and the staff. Also, it is immediate, and you can get the feedback immediate, because immediately the trainee makes a mistake, you see it and you can correct it immediately. So feedback in that situation is immediate. Results is also immediate. You can know immediately that, okay, this employee gets what we are talking about or not. All right. So what are the steps to ensure an on-the-job training success? What are the steps to ensure an on-the-job training success? So first and foremost, you need to prepare the learner. You need to prepare the learner, let them know what is involved, the tasks that they will need to be carrying out. So in that case, you want to make sure that they are ready. So for example, the bank example that I gave earlier, what you want to do in that case is you want to make sure that, okay, you are not the main person, you're not the main teller, you're not the main customer service officer. So you don't need to be under any form of pressure. The first thing you need to do at this point is first of all, understudy the staff you are attached to, understudy the expert, the experienced staff you are attached to. So in that situation, you do not have to be under any form of pressure. I also remember when I joined the telecommunications industry many years ago, and after the training, we were taken to the floor where the other staffs who are experienced more than us were working. And each person was attached to a staff. And the focus of what you are to do is to see how the staff is doing everything they do. Okay, a call comes in, the things that you need to put in place, your software that you need to enter the call, the software that needs to pick the call, the different softwares that you need to open to be able to help the person when you pick the call. So all those things. So you need to watch how that person is doing it, and you need to listen to the conversation the person is having with those people. So those times we were there, we sit down with them, they will share their headset with us so that we can hear, we can listen to the conversation so that we can also be able to try. And then after we did that for a few days, a few weeks, then some of the organization created a segment where they direct some few calls to. And in that few calls, we begin to try our hands on, okay, this is live now. You are attending to live customers. How do you attend to them? So all the trainings that we got both in the classroom and the one that we got from observing the other people, we had to bring that to use. And then the facilitator or our supervisor was monitoring the response from each and every one of us. And then they will correct, okay, this is good. No, next time you do this, okay, you are stuck here. This is where you are supposed to go, and all that, to help us to get used to the familiar. I mean, get used and be familiar with the software. Now, imagine they just dump us on the call floor and ask us to start answering questions. You can imagine the pressure that will be on as many people as possible. So, in this case, you want to prepare the learner, let them know that they are not just jumping into the ocean at this point. They are to observe and work with the staff they are attached to so that whatever form of pressure that is on them will be out. And also, the next step is to prepare the operation. So present the operation. So in this case, you introduce them to the task with the experienced employee who is supposed to guide them. So in this case, that is where the experienced staff shows the new hire or the a trainee. This is what we do. This is how you do this. This is the first step you need to take. Then this next step. If you want to do this, this is the way. This is where you go to first. If you want to log a call, this is the software you will use. If you want to take the information of the customer, this is what you do, and this is how you do it. Present the situation or the operation to the trainee. And after that has been done, you need to give the trainee an opportunity to try. You need to give the trainee an opportunity to try, because what is the essence of learning without trying? So after several examples, after several showcase scenarios, then presents an opportunity for the employee to try their hands on the operation. So in this case, after the experienced staff has done one, two, or three tryouts, you can now tell the trainee, it's okay, are you ready for a tryout now? Are you ready to take your first call, or are you ready to answer your first client? So at that point, he or she is prepared. I remember during our own time, after several examples that we experienced, the experienced staff asked us, okay, so are you ready? I remember I rejected the offer twice before I was able to take. I was okay, yes, I'm ready now. Why was that? Because I was just using that opportunity to clear whatever form of pressure that it was on me in responding to customers. Okay, so give the training an opportunity to try out, and then lastly follow up. So Immediately as they are trying out, you let them know, okay, you did this well, you didn't do this well. So next time when you are faced with this situation, this is how you go and this is what you do, just to, we mentioned about immediate feedback. Let them know, okay, this is the step, this is the route. You don't do this before you do this. You have to do this first before you try this one. If not, this is not going to work. It's like you are filling a form online and two fields are related to each other. If you do not pick the state, I mean the country, you cannot choose the state because the state is dependent on the country. You understand? So you need to let the trainee have an understanding and a feedback of what they have done, whether right or wrong. Okay, so how do we deliver training effectively? How do we deliver an effective training? First and foremost, you do not want to start on the wrong foot. You do not want to start on the wrong foot when it comes to training. Now, a training program is not an opportunity or is not the right avenue to berate staff for having a skill or not. It is not the platform to bring them down or to demotivate them and let them know, okay, it's because you are not good at your work. That's why you are here for the training. No, that's the wrong platform to go with. Okay, so we say don't start out on the wrong foot. Also, you have to give your listeners signals. You have to give your listeners signals. Now, signals in the sense that, okay, we are about to start, put things in place. Okay, everybody, this is what I need you to do at every point in time. Okay, I need you to carry a name tag. I need you to prepare a name tag. I need you to prepare this or that. So you need to let them know and give them signals. Also, you have to be alert to your audience. So in this situation, you have different people, especially if it's an external training that multiple organizations are involved in. You need to be alert to the audience. So body language, you need to watch body language. That is how you know whether some people are prepared for the training or not. Uh, you need to be open, look at the nuances of every participant or every training, look at the unspoken things, the unspoken words, the actions, the sitting position. You understand? These are some of the things that will let you know whether the person is ready for the training or not. Okay, so when delivering a training, you have to maintain eye contact with the audience. If it is in an on-site training, you have to maintain eye contact. You cannot be delivering a training and you'll be shy of your participants. You have to connect with them. And one way of connecting with them is maintaining eye contact. You have to maintain eye contact with them, create a bond, sort of bond with the participant, and you have to make sure that the environment is conducive enough for the training. So and make sure that everyone in the room can hear you, especially if it's an on-site training. If it is not an on-site training, if it's an online training, you have to make sure that every participant can hear you. So whether network or network issues or whatever form of issues they might be having, you need to confirm that they are all hearing you. Or some people can be having challenges with their device setup, you understand? So most times you ask them, if you can hear me, drop a message. If you cannot hear me, do a thumbs up, understand, just to gauge your audience. And also, you need to control hand movement. You have to make sure that your hand movement, when you genuflect, when you gesticulate, you have to make sure that your hand movement is controlled. So there is a training or there is what's it called now? There's a facilitator that says that your hand most times should not go above your head and below your chest or below your belt. So what that does is that it brings the focus of every person, it brings the attention of every person to your upper part, upper body part. And then no matter how wide you want to spread your hand must not be more than maybe 5 centimeters from your head. So all these things is just to be able to control so that the participants, for those who are online, do not miss some of the gestures you are trying to make with your hand. So you have to control your hand movement, and also you want to control it so that you'll be able to avoid distracting your audience. Also, talk from notes rather from scripts. So in this case, you don't want to start reading scripts to your audience. That's a big turnoff for training. If you want to have an effective training, you do not read from a script. So in such situation, you want to make notes of your scripts and discard the script while you talk on the notes. So in most cases, it is more it is more effective to have your training material more pictorial than words. So what that does is that it helps you to put your thoughts into bullet points, and then you have more time to explain each of those bullet points. So rather than talking from a script, you can just speak from notes. Also, you want to you want to break long talks into short series of talks. This is for you to be able to have a chat with your participants. So now, if you notice some of these things that I've been mentioning, you will discover that this is possible in a live training. This is possible in probably an online training. This is possible in physical training. But this is not possible in a CBT based learning. For example, this kind of learning with there's no point of interaction. I cannot pause here to say, okay, participant A, can you give me your suggestion or can you give me your opinion on this? Why? Because this type of training is this the delivery method for this type of training is different from the other type, and the purpose of this type of training is also different. So when you will use this type of training where you do not have response, will you will have what's it called? You will have the understanding from your needs analysis. So most times, this kind of training are when you are doing on offline or informal type of training, when you are trying to learn by yourself. So breaking long talks into series only works for some particular training methods, not all. Okay, and then practicing and rehearsing presentation ahead of time. So if you're the one delivering the training, you need to make sure that you know your material, you practice you practice ahead before the training delivery day. So you need to know which one is your starting point, which is the midpoint, and what's the ending of your delivery. Okay, so uh, creating a training program. We have talked about it before. You set objectives for the training. The objective is the things that will be done to be able to meet the gap that has been identified in the needs analysis. So that training objective is key. And at that point, you want to let the participant know, okay, at the beginning, these are the things we are going to cover. At the end of this training, you should be able to recruit. At the end of this training, you should be able to conduct interview. At the end of this training, you should be able to have an understanding of what training is and be able to take training effectively. You understand? So Those are objectives. Just like we began before we began this course, we specified some objectives, some of the things we will learn in the in the process of the training. So you want to use a detailed job description. Use a detailed job description. Here, you are breaking down the objectives into specific tasks and bullets the the training program to be effective. You want to break those objectives down into smaller activities and tasks. Also, you have to develop an abbreviated task analysis record form. You have to develop an abbreviated task analysis form. So in this place, like I mentioned earlier, breaking down the task into smaller activities. So you want to make sure that the trainees, the participants, go through all these things little one by one, task by task, not as a bulk, but as broken activities that form a whole. You have to develop a instruction sheet, and compile the training program for the job. So you have to develop job instruction sheet. So the job instruction sheet is the things that needs to be done for a job to be successful, and the training program for the job is okay. These are the trainings we are going to be delivering, and these are the things we are offering. Okay, so compile on the job training program for the job. All right, so management development techniques. So this one is uh, mostly for managers, and in that case, because of the level that they are in the workplace, they might not be able to totally leave work to be able to go for training in some cases, or even if they have to leave, they have somebody in place to be able to take over from them what they do. But in most cases, if a candidate is being prepared for managerial training, the methods that they do is job rotation. Now, what this does is that it helps the manager or the intending manager, the candidate for the managerial position, to have an understanding of the whole work task. So, say for example, somebody is taking the uh, position of the somebody is taking the position of manager for maybe a procurement department. So under procurement department, we have many sub departments. We have logistics, we have purchases, we have sales, we have all those other sub departments under that procurement department. So as somebody who is being prepared for the managerial position, their on the job training process involves moving from each of these departments to the other, spending time in each of these departments, learning, understanding whoever is there or the supervisor in that thing. Now, the purpose of this is for the manager to be able to understand what goes on in that department. Have in mind that the manager is the one that makes decision for a department. The manager is the one that makes a decision for what happens in that particular department. So he needs to know what is going on in this department. He needs to be aware of what is happening in that department so that whatever decision he takes is going to fall back on him. So if he does not have an idea what is going on and he makes decision, it could affect the organization and ultimately affect the manager also. So here is going around understanding and then receiving coaching and learning the actions that are being taken. Okay, so we need to make an order. What are the processes that go into making an order? We need to create a requisition form. Then from the requisition form, you need to send what's it called now? We need to send the requisition to the supplier. The supplier sends us the codes. We compare the code with others. We meet the management team. okay, this, that, and then we send we ask the supplier to send us an invoice, and the invoice is sent, and then we make payment and goods are delivered to us. So those processes, which one can be skipped before another is started, which one needs to be done before the next one starts. So all those things are part of the things that that person needs to learn on the job to be able to take decision. You cannot just approve a purchase without having gone through some steps. So all those things are what those that have been prepared for the managerial position will take as their own uh, on-the-job training. Now, the manager can also experience off-the-job training, and in this case, most of the techniques that is used is the case study method. So the manager is presented with different case studies, live scenarios, or things that have happened in the organization before that has caused some decisions to be taken. So they bring it back and ask the manager to role play in that category. Okay, if you are in this category, what would you do? If you are in that category, what are the actions you will take? As we have seen uh, in the group, some of the things we talked about, where we have two employees who are vying for a particular position and the likes and the likes. That's a case study. If you are in that situation as HR, what will you do? You understand? So role play, you need to put yourself in that situation. Okay, I am the HR in this organization. This kind of situation happens. How will I handle it? How am I supposed to handle it? So it is also to be able to help the person being prepared for the managerial position to learn how to handle situation when they arise. Then we have management games, outside seminars, university related programs, role playing, we talk about it, behavior modeling, corporate university, executive coaching. So some of these programs, outside seminars, university related programs, corporate university, executive coaches, most of them can be offered outside of the office for the manager to go and attend to be able to see how other organizations or other companies are handling the situation in their own organization. Okay, when it comes to role play, when it comes to role play, we have an example, and let me give an example of that in the next slide. Okay, so now in this case, this is an example of role play, just to help us to understand role play. So what is being said here is you are the head of a crew of telephone maintenance workers, each of whom drives a small service truck to and fro from the various jobs. So every so often you get a new truck to exchange for an old one, and you have the problem of deciding which of your crew member you should give the new truck. Often there are hard feelings since each seems to feel entitled to the new truck. So you have a tough time being fair. As a matter of fact, it usually turns out that whatever you decide is considered wrong by most of the crew. You now have to face the issue again because a new truck has just been allocated to you for your assignment. So in order to handle this problem, you have decided to put the decision up to the crew. So in this case, as the trainer, you will need to tell the participants, okay, about the no truck, and you will put the problem in terms of what will be the fairest way to assign the truck. Do not take a position yourself because you want to do what they think is most fair. So in this case, what is being done is that as the trainer, as the facilitator of that particular training, what you want to do is you want to put each of these managers in a situation where they are the head of the crew, and how will they handle this kind of situation. Now, in most of these exercises, there is no wrong or right way to answering them. There is no wrong or right way to answering them. Why is because there is no set rule. If the organization policy does not have a specific rule to say, okay, this is the team that you will allocate a truck to, or this is the team that needs to take the truck based on maybe performance or what it is. If there are no such things in the organization, you as a trainer, you have to be careful to not condemn the response of any of your participants. Do not say one is correct and one is not correct. Because the role play exercise, there is no there is no correct or wrong answers in this case. There's no correct or wrong answers in this case. What you want to be sure is you are just trying to find a fair solution that will not be uh, that will not have an effect on the performance of the rest of the crew. Do you understand? So you cannot categorically say, okay, Mr. A, your response or your decision is the best or not. No, you don't want to put yourself in that situation where you condemn the participants' solution. What you want to do is you want to make sure that they all give their own opinion and that no opinion is wrong or right. Okay, evaluating the training effort. Evaluating the training effort. So after you have delivered the training, you need to evaluate. You need to find out, okay, the things we have done, have we been successful? You have conducted needs analysis. This is the gap that the organization has. You have conducted personal analysis or the personnel analysis. Oh, these are the inadequacies of this staff. These are the inadequacies of this employee. You have conducted task analysis. Okay, these are the challenges with this job. These are the things that is not there, that is not making the job to be pushing us towards the direction you want to go. And then you have crafted a training program, you have developed a training program to address those needs, both from the organization point of view, from the personnel point of view, and also from the task point of view. You have put that training program together, you have designed a training program, and you have put it all together. Also, you have done, you have chosen the best method to deliver the training for you to meet all those needs. Now, you have done the training program, you have implemented the training program, and it has been successful. You are now back in the office from the training program. Now, the next thing to do is to evaluate the training effort. And in this case, what you want to find out is the decision whether the training that has been implemented, what you have carried out, has been able to address those gaps that you identified in the course of your needs analysis process. So you want to find out the gaps we identified in the organizational analysis, have they been fixed? The gaps we identified from the personnel, the inadequacies in the personnel, has the training been able to help us to show up that inadequacies? Has the employee been able to acquire the skills that they need to be able to deliver optimally? Now, as the job task analysis now, has the job been broken down to enough for the employee to be able to carry it out effectively without having any issues? So these are the things you want to do in the evaluation process. Now, in the evaluation process, you can take two methods. The two methods is time series design. Now, you have the opportunity to watch over time the outcome of the training, how the employee or the participant involved in training how it has affected their outputs in job over time. So probably you give it a 2, 3 months to say, okay, this person that goes for this training, let us check their deliverables, let us check their output. So if we say this training is supposed to uh, correct this, and this in the person, in 1 month, the person is the person still doing this thing, or does the person still have this inadequacy and not able to do this thing? So you can look at that over a period of time, and that will let you know whether the training has been a successful one or not. Another option you can look at here is have a controlled experimentation. Now, in this case, what you want to do is you want to separate the trainee from the rest of the team and then put them in a different environment to test the outcome of the training. And in this case, not that you are doing anything special, you just want to, okay, instead of us having to wait over time, this particular task, since you have gone for the training and you have done it, can you perform it? Can you do this task? Can you do this task? Can you carry out this task? And let us see whether you are able to do that. And let us see whether you're able to do that, and that can move us forward. So, a controlled environment. Now, in that case, most times you will get results, but this can be as a result of the employee fresh from training. What is the situation after a month of the training? What is the situation after 2 months of the training? So you want to check, okay, another experimentation, some few weeks, some few months after the training, to see that all the things that were actually learned have been internalized. Now, also in the evaluation process, you need to choose which training effect to measure. So you need to choose which training effect to measure. So the first thing is you want to measure the reaction of the trainees to the program, or you want to measure the actual learning that happened, or you want to measure a particular behavior that changed on the job, or the results that are achieved as a result of the training. So you cannot you cannot say, okay, you want to measure, do an overall evaluation. Yes, you can try to do that, but because of the need analysis that has been done, you need to have a particular thing in mind to measure. And you can either measure the reaction to training if you're trying to correct an attitude or a behavior. You can measure the learning that actually took place if you are trying to if you are trying to measure uh, the the content of your learning and development team. You can choose to measure behavior that changed on the job. Like the first one, if you're trying to change attitude of an employee, and you can actually choose to measure the result that was achieved as the as a result of the training. That is if you are trying to measure performance. So all these things are different effects that you can choose to measure in a training program. All these are the different results or the effect that you can choose to measure in a training program. And in another case, you can also choose to measure the deliveries, the delivery or the delivery method, or even the facilitator of the program. So in that case, you want to measure, depending on the organization, you want to measure what are the things that we did wrong or we did not do right. Is it the environment that we had the training? Is it not conducive enough? Is it the facilitator? It does not have enough knowledge about the course or about the program, all these things. So depending on the organization, you can choose to measure various things. But what determines what you measure, like I said, is what the first thing you have done, which is the needs analysis. So that is what will determine what we measure, because in the first place, that is what informed the reason for taking the training. So that is also what will determine what you measure at the end of the day. I hope that over the past 30 minutes, we have been able to learn one or two things from the course learning and development, training, learning, and development. And I believe that we have been able to have an understanding of what it means or what training and development includes as an HR practitioner. I believe that we already have an idea of what the training process includes. I also believe that we know the different training methods that we can employ to deliver our training. We also have an idea of the training process and the techniques for delivering a training and how to conduct a needs analysis and to design a training program and deliver an effective program. All right. Thank you very much for your time. It's over and out from me here. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the comment section of the course. And I hope to see you again in another course, in another module. Thank you very much. Damilare here again. Have a nice day.